Ladies and gentle dudes, Andy here, day 178 of the Inner Winner Show. Yesterday we talked about the goals that people have when they sign up to my forums. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go back, go to theinnerwinnershow.com/177. Go back and listen to that episode just because you'll need the context before you listen to this one. So I'll kick off with where we left off yesterday. And the next goal that people say they have when they first sign up to my forums is to read more. So 3% of you, 3.5% of you, not a lot of you, but a few of you say that you want to read more. And this is a goal I hear from a couple of my clients as well. I think the best place to start is probably You Can't Afford the Luxury of a Negative Thought. That's my favorite book of all time. I talk about that book all the damn time. The next one that you should probably read is The Slight Edge. That book is like the how-to guide on goal setting, on achieving things, on taking baby steps towards your goal every single day. It's like the book on success. After you've read those two, there's quite a few other books I recommend. I'll just leave a link in the show notes below to like the full reading list I have. I've got about like 10 or 15 books on there, books that have legitimately changed my life. I talk about what I got out of them, what you'll get out of them. Some of the ones on there are like Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life, No More Mr. Nice Guy, that's a great book. When I Say No, I Feel Guilty, that's a great book. Toxic Parents, that's a brilliant book if you grew up with shitty parents or shitty, family members or whatever. So I'll leave a link in the show notes below to that full list. The next thing on there is traveling, and this kind of ties in. This is 3.5% of you say that you want to travel more. This ties a little bit into the moving one. So again, the best advice I can give you guys is go on my forums and reach out to Radical. He is the traveling guru. Just ask him any of your questions or just tell him that you want to, start traveling. He can give you better advice than anybody else can. 3% of you say that you want to learn a language. I really like this one. I don't have resources for you myself. But again, this is one of those things where we live in the age of the internet, the age of information. If you want to learn a language, this is the best fucking time to do it. Go on YouTube. There are free courses. There are a million different websites you can go to learn languages. Some of them free, some of them super cheap. It's really, really, really easy. And it's really, really, really fun. Because learning a language used to be one of those things where you'd have to just like read the textbook and study and then eventually go and practice. Now, all of the learning like language learning tools are a hell of a lot of fun. Like some of them have been like gamified, like they're really enjoyable to do. You get like achievements. It's kind of like a quiz halfway through. There's like some that are literal video games or like, I guess you'd call them video games. Not in like an FPS kind of sense, but you guys get what I mean. So learning a language, yeah, that's what the internet is for. Easy peasy. A bunch of you have said that you want to write a book. I really like this one. This really is something that I can definitely give you advice on. So I haven't written any articles on how to write a book or how to write. Obviously, my Tinder guide was 130,000 words long. So in terms of book length, I think the average novel is something like 50,000 words. So I basically wrote 3 books just in that Tinder guide. And then on top of that, like the threesome guide is really long as well. I've written a bunch of articles which are like really, 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 really long, as in like 25,000 words. So like half of a book. And the best advice I can give you on this will just be general productivity advice, of which there is a shit ton on my website. I have done so many articles on productivity, on how to make progress. Probably the best one that I can give you, and I'll leave a link in the show notes below to this one, is an article I wrote called Discipline and Willpower Don't Fucking Matter. And essentially in that article, I'm teaching you how to, be productive when you really don't want to be. And the best tool I have is bribing. I bribe myself. I give myself little rewards. I say, if I just sit down and write for 20 minutes, then I get to like watch a fun YouTube video, or I get to eat something nice. I get to eat a steak, or I get to, go outside for a walk. That was how I finished the the Tinder guide, the massive, massive, massive 130,000 word guide. I just had to constantly do that because I didn't have the discipline. I didn't have the motivation to just sit down and write for 5 hours at a time or something. I couldn't do that. I could barely even write for 1 hour at a time. I'm someone who's very like attention deficit. I really struggle to just sit down and be focused and maintain focus for a long period of time. So cheating and giving myself these rewards is what worked for me. So I'll leave a link in the show notes below to that article. Discipline and willpower don't fucking matter. That is what I would suggest reading that article and trying some of those techniques yourself. Other things that work in terms of like if you're going to sit down and write a big book, because it will take a lot of time, the Pomodoro technique, which is where you have a 25-minute work period. So you bust your ass for 25 minutes, and then you have a 5-minute break, and then 25 minutes of working, then 5-minute break. And you just keep alternating between those until you've worked for 2 hours in total. And then at that point in time, you have a big break. You have like a 30-minute break. And I used that for a little bit. That helped me as well. And so some of these different tools for how you can be productive, you might have to cycle between different tools. You know what I mean? Like at one point, you might do the Pomodoro technique. Then you might try for a week just sitting down and writing for 2 hours and saying, I can't leave this desk for the next 2 hours. I'm going to do whatever. Like, I can't leave. I don't have to write, but I can't leave. That works sometimes. That works for some people. Just forcing yourself to sit in front of the computer screen or sit in front of your piece of paper or whatever. Often you just end up being productive because you're not allowed to leave. And you're like, well, fuck it. I'm here anyway. I may as well write something. So there's a million different techniques. Sometimes one of them will work for you for a week. Some of them work forever. Some work for some people and not for others. Sometimes you have to keep cycling between them. But writing a book really is something that everyone can do. I really don't think there's anyone who couldn't write a book, but you will absolutely struggle with like writer's block and all that sort of stuff. Writing a book is an absolute bitch. Writing a long article is an absolute bitch. And you really do have to bribe and cheat and reward yourself and do all that kind of stuff. The next one is, a couple of you have said that you want to start a YouTube channel. I really like this one as well. One of the guys on my forums, the moderator on my forums, Radical, the guy who came up with this whole spreadsheet in the first place, he started his own YouTube channel at the start of this year. He's doing a 365 project just like I am, so he's doing a video every single day, and he's been absolutely killing it. Some of his content now, he's on like 100 and something. I think he's on like 150 from memory. I just made that up, but I think it's roughly 150 that he's on. Day 150. He's absolutely killing it at this point. His videos now are actually really good quality. Like the content is brilliant. He's way more confident than he was at the start. At the start, just like my podcasts were at the start of my 365 project, you know, they're a bit rambly. His stuff was a bit rambly as well. There wasn't a point. He wasn't always coherent. He would get lost in thought just like I used to. I still do sometimes, and he still does sometimes. But overall, generally speaking, the content is infinitely better. So if you want to do a YouTube channel, I would absolutely suggest, you know, trying something like what I've done, a 365 project, saying I have to do a YouTube video every single day for a year. And that is the best way. I recommend that for any kind of content creation. And as we get further down on this list, another goal that some of you have stated is that you want to, you know, get really good at art. Brilliant. Exactly the same. Imogen, my girlfriend, is doing a 365 project at the moment. She's doing one piece of artwork every single day. And just like the YouTube thing, or like my podcast or Radical's YouTube channel, if you can do content creation every single day for a year, first of all, you're showing yourself that you actually take it seriously. And you're like, no, this is definitely something I want to do. Look at this insane habit that I just kept up for a year. I'm obviously invested in this. I obviously want this to work out, or I wouldn't have fucking done this for a year. This is insane. I've just proven to myself that I can do something crazy, and that this isn't like a fleeting, you know, thing that I say I want, but in 3 months I'm going to get bored of it. Like, I've shown myself for 1 year this was my entire life. I did this every fucking day. I clearly want this. So the next goal that a couple of you have is a martial arts goal. I don't have a ton of advice for this other than you obviously have to go and see some sort of martial arts trainer. Probably I'd recommend doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I haven't done it myself, but I have like 5 or 6 friends who have, and they never shut the fuck up about it. I have a couple of friends who've done boxing as well. They seem to like that, but they don't rant and rave about it quite the way that anyone who's done BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, does. Like I said, I have a couple of friends, like 5 friends roughly, who just don't shut the fuck up about how amazing it is and how much it's changed their life. So maybe that's a pretty good place to start. That is on my bucket list at some point in the future as well. That's on my long-term list of goals, that I want to become like a fucking sick cunt in the gym. And I want to absolutely be able to defend myself with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu so that I'm big and muscular, and that if anyone ever fucks with me, which hopefully they wouldn't, you know, when you're that big, they probably will fuck with you less. But if they ever did, I'd know how to handle myself. So yeah, I love that goal. A couple of you, 1% of you, say that you want to be a good parent. I really like this one as well. I can kind of in my mind picture who may have said this. I haven't gone back and checked the entire thread and, to see who's said all these goals. But just knowing some of you guys on the forums, I can think of a couple of you that I'm pretty sure you would have said this, that you want to be a good parent. I really like that as well. Just like everything else, being a good parent, this is a hard one. But you really, and again, I'm not a parent, keep that in mind. But at the start, the advice is going to be the same as everything else. You need to give yourself permission to suck, no matter how much you prepare, how many books you read, how many YouTube videos you watch, how prepared you are for being a parent. I've heard this time and time again from people who are parents, including my own parents. I've had this conversation with them a million times. No matter how much you prepare for being a parent, the second your kid comes out of that hospital, like the day you take them home, you suddenly realize, oh shit, I know nothing. I thought I knew everything. I thought I read. My parents have an entire bookshelf, like an entire, book, not a shelf, but I mean, I guess you call it a bookshelf, but it's like multiple shelves. They have 100 books on parenting. I saw them as a kid growing up. My mom would refer to them sometimes. And then, but for the most part, she was like, I read all these books. And then day one, I was like, shit, I know nothing. These books don't show you the reality. Just like you can go and read 500 pickup artist websites. You can read everything on my website. You can read a million different people telling you how to get laid. But the second you actually go out there and try, you go, oh shit, I was not prepared for this. I know nothing. I've spent 2 years reading all this shit. It's not just like the first time I tried LSD. I had spent a year and a half researching it. I had read fucking 50 books. I had read a ridiculous number of forum posts, and I had spent seriously a year and a half or 2 years of researching because I was so terrified. And then the second I took it, I was like, shit, this is not what everyone said it was like. This is not what I prepared for. In a good way. It was amazing. But I was like, damn, I know nothing. I thought I knew everything. Research gets you so far, but it's not quite the same as doing it. Being a good parent is exactly the same. Parenthood, you guys who've said this, you're already parents, so you don't need me to tell you, but being a parent is nothing like what you expect it to be. I guess I'll give advice to you guys who've posted this. Because you're already parents, I can think of two of you in mind that I'm pretty sure would have said this, and I know you two. You both are actually older than me. One of you, if I'm thinking of the right guy, you're actually one of my coaching clients. All I could say to you guys, bear in mind, I'm younger than you and I'm not a parent. So, the hubris of me to give you parenting advice, but whatever. I'll just say, if you're even asking the question of I really want to be a good parent, congratulations, you're already a good parent. That's step one of being a good parent is actually give a fuck and want to be a good parent. Step two is admitting that you're shit, right? And I think you guys that's kind of implicit in the statement, I want to be a better parent or a good parent. You're kind of implying I'm shit right now, or I'm not as good as I want to be. Congratulations, that's step two of being a good parent. That's step two of being good at anything. Admit that you're shit and admit that you want to get better. Don't have arrogance to think don't be defensive. Don't think I know what I'm doing. I don't need advice from other people. If you just say I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just trying to be a good parent. Congratulations, you're already better than 99.999% of motherfuckers out there who don't have the humility to admit, I don't know what I'm doing, or I could be better. Most parents get so fucking defensive when it comes to parenting advice. If you even imply that they might be doing even remotely not a perfect job, all of a sudden you're Hitler and you deserve the death penalty. That's how most parents feel. That's how most people feel about most of their goals. So the fact that you're even on my forums trying to be a better parent, congratulations, you're already a pretty good parent. Now go out and be the best goddamn parent that you can be. Go all in with that shit. Decide. I mean, you guys are already doing it. I'm pretty sure I know who a couple of you guys are. You guys already seem like fucking good parents to me. I haven't seen you raise your kids or any of that, but just, like I said, the fact that you're into self-improvement, the fact that you're empathetic people, the fact that you're decent, honorable men, congratulations. You're already better than most fucking parents. Go out and be a better parent. Go out and be the best goddamn parent you can be. The next one on this list, 1% of you said that your goal is to get sober. Fucking love this one. This is one I've struggled with myself. This is one that another guy on my forums, Dashed Hopes. Awesome dude. I love that dude. He's come on my podcast a couple of times. He's struggled with sobriety as well. I think he's sober now, but in the past, he struggled with it. There's quite a few guys into self-improvement who realize alcohol is holding me back. I don't want it to be a part of my life. That's definitely where I'm at right now. Now, I will have periods of time where I'm going to drink in the future, but for right now, I will say I don't plan on drinking for the next 6 months. That's definitely set in stone. And then in 6 months, I'll see where I'm at. I probably at that point will be like, yeah, no, this has been fun. I'm just going to keep up like not drinking, and I'll just probably keep it going. That's probably what's going to happen. At some point in the future, I'll probably have a drink or so, but like, yeah, we'll see how we go. Because for me, alcohol is it takes away my inhibitions, and I've never done anything crazy with, like, alcohol doesn't ruin my life. I'm not one of those people where alcohol ruins my life, but it ruins my productivity. It makes me happy. It makes me feel amazing. And then the problem with that is I don't feel like working on my goals, right? Like I'm sitting there just listening to music. I'm drunk, or I'm hanging with my friends, or I'm watching a movie or whatever. Everything feels great. The world feels wonderful. I don't have any insecurities. Everything is beautiful. I'm just in the moment. Fantastic. But it's very tempting for me to keep that up, to go like, oh, well, I should do this like a couple of days a week because this feels great. From there, it's like, man, I should do this every day. And I've had periods, like especially last year in 2020, with all the lockdown shit and all that kind of, my depression and stuff like that, which I've talked about in the past. I had months where, okay, not months. I had 1 month in particular that I can think of where I drank every single day. And again, it wasn't like crippling. It's not like I needed it, but I guess you can say that I kind of did need it if I'm doing it every single day, right? Like at that point, it's like the line between, oh, I'm doing this because it's fun, and then, no, I need this, that becomes really blurry, that line. So I got to that point and I was like, nah, this is really like fucking my productivity. I was still doing everything. I was still doing a podcast a day, multiple podcasts a day on some days. I was still doing my coaching. I was always sober during coaching calls, so it's not like I was, sitting around drunk. But it got to the point where it's like, this is taking up a huge chunk of my day. Like just being drunk, because when you're drunk, you're not going to do a great podcast, right? So I just didn't do podcasts. So I would get drunk in the evenings, which meant, from like 4 or 5 p.m. onwards, I'm not doing anything productive. What a waste of an evening. And then every time I drank, that would screw my sleep up. And so I got to a point where, it was a struggle just doing a goddamn podcast every day. It was a struggle. Like I would have to fucking have coffee and stuff, which I'm really sensitive to caffeine. I don't love caffeine. I don't drink it at the moment, and I'm probably not going to drink it for a year. I would have to have coffee before every coaching call. And then I'd be all jittery and shitty. So alcohol and I, it can work, but I think at this point I'm just going to say let's just try a year of sobriety and see how that goes. And then, maybe after that I say I think I'll just never drink again. I think alcohol is annoying. We'll see how we go. So in terms of actual advice for you guys wanting to get sober, I think you guys already know what to do. Call Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't love their program, but it does work. So there you go. There's that. There's a million books you can look at on overcoming alcoholism. The one thing I'll say is just like overcoming porn addiction. We talked yesterday about NoFap. I would always encourage you to have something to move towards. Don't just say, getting sober is my goal. Yes, that's one goal, but then you need to replace that alcohol with something, right? You're drinking for a reason. I drink for a reason. I drank because I was depressed. You need to replace that with something that you're moving towards, some higher power, as they say in the in the Alcoholics Anonymous program, in the AA program. They want you to have a higher power. For me, that's a goal. Having some goal that you're working towards, whether that's helping other people, whether that's getting laid, whether that's losing weight, whether that's, building a business, whether that's being better with your family, your friends, whatever the hell it is, have some goal that you're working towards so that you're replacing the alcohol with something worthwhile. You also may find that you were using alcohol to cope with certain things. And so when you take the alcohol away, a lot of, negative emotions, maybe some childhood trauma, a lot of shit that you weren't processing will come up, and you will have to deal with that. And that will be a difficult proposition, especially if you've used alcohol to mask that. But you can absolutely get through it. I definitely recommend going onto my forums and having an accountability log there, getting help from others. Maybe you need to see a counselor. You're welcome to hit me up for coaching. I have dealt with a couple of people who have alcohol problems, and I've dealt with quite a few people who had porn addiction as well. So, and those two seem to be, the way I personally treat them, I treat them both pretty much the same, right? Do your best. It's okay if you're not perfect. You'll get better over time. You need to replace the alcohol or the porn with something productive. Let's get you hardcore focused on your goals so you're not sitting around obsessing about your addiction. I want you to kind of almost forget your addiction and let's start moving you forwards. That's how I deal with that. Like I said, you're welcome to hit me up for coaching, send me an email or whatever, and I can help with that. The next thing on this list, a couple of you said, it was only a couple of you said this one. You want to learn to dance. You want to take salsa lessons. One of my mates took salsa lessons early on as a way for him to meet women and also so that he could, just be generally more confident. That was kind of what he chose to do when he was in his 20s. He's like 30 something now, so this was like a decade or so ago. But that was his answer. And funnily enough, it actually helped for him. It really, really helped. He learned to get really confident with women. He wasn't like getting laid left, right, and center, but he got laid like a couple of times, over, I think, the first year he did it, which for him, someone who'd only been with like one or two women at the time, I think, like he just doubled his lay count. So congratulations, that worked for him. In terms of how to do it, I mean, that's an easy one. Just go join a salsa dancing club, join a dance club. I know that might be a bit messy right now with lockdowns and COVID and all that sort of bullshit in some of your countries. That's fine. You can just go like as soon as shit opens back up. Next one is dick enhancement. And so what people are talking about here is, I mean, let's frame it a little more nicely. We'll call it penis enlargement or penis enhancement. But essentially making your dick bigger, making your sausage fatter, making that lead pipe more of a steel fucking massive rod, a baseball bat. I've got a couple of articles on that. The best one would probably be to go and read the article I wrote on how to use the Bathmate, which is just a penis pump. It's the one that I use. I like to use it before sex. I'll leave a link in the show notes below to that. And I talk about how you use it before sex. You pump your dick up. You use it in the shower. Super easy. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't really feel like much. It kind of just feels like someone's like sucking on your dick, I guess. Like it's like a pressure, but not a bad thing. Just like someone squeezing your dick really hard. And, you just use that for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, in the shower. And then when you come out, your dick will be like infinitely fatter. Some people have said that you can use it for like long-term gains. I personally haven't done that. So I always just use it before sex to make my dick fatter, and it's much more fun. And, sometimes if I use it a decent amount, like I literally can't get a condom on, like my dick is way too big for a condom. It is fun as hell. Especially I like to fuck with girls with it sometimes. I've talked about this a bit in the past where you will like see a girl a couple of times so she knows how big your dick is. And then the fourth time you see her, you pump your dick up with the Bathmate, so you make it even fatter. You don't tell her you've done it. And then in the bedroom, you say like, give me a blowjob. And she'll go to do it and she'll be like, something's right. Is your dick bigger? And you're just like, if you just like kind of play along and just like fuck with her a little bit and you're like, no, like, what do you mean? Did your mouth get smaller? And she'll like give you a blowjob and she'll be like, no, something's definitely different. Like, are you sure your dick's not bigger? And you're like, no, like it's the same. And then when you go to fuck her, she'll be like, okay, your dick is way too big. What the fuck? You have to go slow, please. Like, why is this so big? And then eventually you just tell her, like, yeah, I'm just fucking with you. Like, I use this penis pump. It makes my dick bigger. Like, I hope you like it. I've done that like so many times. It's so much fun. Girls always like love that. They're like, I knew it. I knew something was wrong with your dick. I knew it's like way too big. I thought I was going crazy. It's like this fun fucking game that I love to play. So link in the show notes below to that, to the Bathmate pump. I use the one that has like, it comes with a pump, and that just makes it even better. You can get one that doesn't have that, which is a bit cheaper, and then you have to kind of like manually pump it, but I prefer the pump one. Anyway, links in the show notes below to that. Yeah, easy peasy. The last one, okay, the second last one is working on conquering your erectile dysfunction or performance anxiety. I wrote a massive article on this, like a massive guide on like how to beat it. I think I had like 15 or 16 ideas in there. It was like incredibly long. I put so much time and energy into that article because that's something that I used to struggle with a hell of a lot. And my number one tip on there is to give yourself permission to not have sex. I've told this to so many of my clients, especially guys who really, really, really struggle with like erectile dysfunction or they're really nervous or whatever. And I just straight up say, all right, this next time that you see this girl for the first time, or the next girl that you see for the first time, you're not allowed to have sex. You can't have sex. You can't get your dick out. She can't touch your dick. You're not allowed to take it out of your underwear. You can do anything else that doesn't involve your dick. No touching, no sucking your dick, no fucking, none of that. Anything else is okay. You can finger her. You can go down on her. You can, do some BDSM with her. You can use the fucking magic wand vibrator that I'm always talking about. You can make her orgasm with that. You can just make out. You can play with her tits. Anything you want, but you don't get to involve your dick. As soon as you do that, that takes off all the pressure. Suddenly there is no burden on you because like, even if I want to, I'm not allowed to have sex. Andy told me I'm not allowed to have sex. Like he forbid me from having sex. Cool. No pressure. It doesn't even matter if I can't get my dick up because like she's not going to know. If the girl asks, which sometimes they will, usually they'll just beg you. They'll be like, please fuck me. You can either make it a fun sex thing. Like you can say like, I don't think you've been good enough. I think you're going to have to wait till next time. Like make it kind of like a power play thing where you say like, you've got to earn my dick. I'll give it to you next time. Or you can just be casual about it if you'd rather do that, if that makes you more comfortable. You can just say like, no, I just like to take my time with this stuff. I really like to explore. I like to have a bit of foreplay the first time and then it builds it up and then we're both going to be like horny as hell the second time we meet. So that's my number one tip. In that article, I have like 15 other tips. Please go read that article. So many of you guys struggle with erectile dysfunction or performance anxiety. That article, I promise you, there's at least 5 things in that article that will work for every single one of you. Like every single one of you can take at least 5 things from that article that will fix your issues. Absolutely. I think my best success story, I'm not going to say his name, obviously, but one of my coaching clients, when he first came to see me, he had massive erectile dysfunction issues. Like incredible. Like he was convinced there's no way in hell I can ever get it up. He had tried multiple times. He was a virgin when he first came to see me. He'd been struggling with like erectile dysfunction for like, at that point, like 10 years, and he was convinced that he wouldn't be able to get it up. He absolutely could get it up by doing essentially what I said before, giving himself permission to just take it slow and not get his dick out and not have sex and be okay with, not being able to get it up and tell girls, hey, I'm a bit nervous. I may not be able to get it up. Is that cool? And taking this pressure off himself, eventually he ended up getting laid. He can get laid now. Like he still has some nervousness and a little bit of anxiety, but it's like nowhere near what it was. His dick works now. So if that guy can fix it, absolutely any of you can. It is absolutely fixable. The easiest way is to stop putting this pressure on yourself to get it up. Like literally say, I can't get it up, so there's no point me even getting my dick out. Easy, done, fine. And then the final goal that we're going to cover, or the final goal that you guys say when you first sign up to my forums, is reversing hair loss. Now, I dabbled with this myself for a couple of years, so I did a bunch of research. I know about like finasteride, durasteride, the R8, whatever it's called, that stuff that you put in, the foam that you put in your hair. I know about minoxidil. I know about the foam versus the oil minoxidil. Like I did a ton of research with this shit. I know that steroids fuck with your hair loss. I know that you can get different types of hair transplants. There's one called FET, and I forget what the other one is, like FUT or some shit. Like I did a ton of research on this shit. At some point, I just basically gave up, right? I decided I'm going to shave it all off. I'm sick of having my horrible, like receding, balding hair. I'm just going to be a little shaved motherfucker. And maybe when I'm rich in like 10 years, then I will go out and get a hair transplant. So that's still on the cards. I may get that at some point. If I do, I'll do articles and podcasts and I'll share what I've learned through that process. But at this point in time, I'll give you 3 options. You can either try and save the hair you have now, which is what a lot of people recommend. A lot of people recommend that. Fine, that's a perfectly valid option. Go and do research on finasteride, durasteride, minoxidil, all those kind of things. Second thing is to just cover it up, which is what I did for a long time before I decided to shave it off. That's why I wore beanies and hats in basically every Tinder picture I had. That's why you'll see me in most of my old pictures. I just have a hat on all the time because that would cover up the balding spots on my head. And I was fairly confident doing that. And then when you get into the bedroom, when you take your hat off, she's already horny at that point. She's not going to like get mad just because you're a little bit bald, right? Like no girl ever cared. I never had a single girl care ever. Some of them would point it out afterwards. They'd be like, oh, you're kind of bald. And I'd be like, yeah. And then they'd just be like, oh, okay. Like none of them ever cared because like I've already fucked them by that point, right? Like, and then the third option is to just do what I've done and just go like full fucking retard and go like, nope. Fuck this hair, I'm shaving it all off. That's a perfectly awesome option. That is what my moderator, Radical, has chosen to do at this point in time. He's also going to try and save his hair, but like right now, at this second, he's gone the bald look just like I have. And then he kind of does what I do sometimes, which is he'll throw a hat on every now and then. Because I think we do, both he and I probably do look a little bit better with the hat on. Definitely I look better with a beanie. But I'm comfortable walking around in public with the shaved head because I've had it for like a year now. I'm completely okay with being a bald motherfucker. I'm in the bald club. I'm in the shaved head club. Awesome. So those are your 3 options. Save your hair, cover it up with hats or beanies, or just go full retard and shave it all off. All of those are awesome options. I will leave a link in the show notes below. I'll leave a link to Radical's website because he's got a couple of articles about how to wear hats and like what fashion, what kind of hats are in fashion, that kind of stuff. So go read that. I will also leave a link to a YouTube video that I did on how to shave your head bald. Like the shaver that I use a special head shaver that works really well, super cheap, gets the job done ultra quickly. So that will cover those two options. And then if you want to shave your head, that will be if you want to save your hair, that will be up to you to go and do your own research. So that's pretty much all the goals. That is all the goals, I should say. Those are all the stated reasons that people have given for why they show up to my forums. Again, I'll leave links in the show notes below to all the articles I mentioned here. And I just want to say, no matter what your goals are, even if your goals are something that we haven't put on this list, all of you are absolutely welcome on the forums. I am super fucking proud of all of you for being the kind of people that pick a goal and then make it happen and work towards it. I'm super proud of you guys for deciding that, not that you're unhappy with where you are, although I know a lot of you are, but the point is that you always want to be better and that you're not going to sit there and be complacent and average, because there's nothing I detest more than people who are happy to be average. That's disgusting to me. That is a total waste of the life that you've been given, total waste of your potential. I'm really proud of all you guys for your goals, and I will do anything I can and everything I can to help make those happen for you guys. On that note, if you've listened to all this and you think, damn, I'd really like to hit you up for coaching, I'd like a bit of one-on-one coaching, send me an email. Go to killyourinnerloser.com/coaching. I've got all my prices and all my packages listed on there. I will also do a shout out to a Facebook group that I have. There's a private Facebook group called the Winners Club. It's $50 a week if you want to join that. And that's like an accountability Facebook. You also get access to once a week a live stream with me where you can ask me any questions. And in that Facebook group, you can ask me questions throughout the week, anything you want. I'll jump in there. I'll give you motivation, give you accountability, answer some questions, all that kind of stuff. So I got the coaching packages, or that Facebook group is brilliant if you just want access to me throughout the week to ask me some quick questions or, get some feedback and stuff like that and have me push you. Yeah, shoot me an email. Awesome. Email. Awesome. Email. Awesome.